Live alive?
Bam. That's it. Hey, everybody. It's alive.
Ho, ho, ho.
Ho, ho, ho.
It's the special Christmas edition.
Yes.
So what,
This is
2 more days, and it's that day.
Yes. So this is Gary's Guitars Guitar Talk. I'll put this over here a little bit so you can see. Both of us. Not here out of focus. Now
Get a new cameraman.
Yeah, this camera guy. So, Gary's Guitars, Portsmouth, New Hampshire, worldwide on the YouTube thing. This is called Guitar Talk. We sit here and talk about guitars.
Yeah, and Christmas.
And all things guitars, including Christmas guitars. Because...
Hopefully there's going to be some guitar-related item under your Christmas tree.
Yes, that is true. It's nothing quite... Let's talk... I don't know. Did we say we're going to talk about something? Just talk about Christmas guitars and guitars you got for Christmas.
Yeah,
that'd be some
it's a
cool
special thing.
Yeah,
you can't really hide it under the tree, no matter how you wrap it.
Yeah,
so the kids are going to come down and say, oh, "It's my guitar!"
Something guitar size. You've been asking for a guitar all year.
Right? No, sorry, it's a sled. But yeah, I think we all had a memorable guitar Christmas in our past.
Let me think, because my most memorable one is when I bought my first guitar.
Burning it was later.
Yeah. I guess because here's the thing: the guitar wasn't under the tree.
No.
My parents didn't find the guitar, but they gave me a gift certificate.
Oh.
Or they gave me some money, and that money in January went to buy my Gibson Grabber bass.
Oh, which has a whole other story.
Which there's a big story about the Gibson Grabber. But when you're 15 years old playing a Gibson Grabber, that thing is long scale.
It's like yoga stretch.
Yeah. But I bought it for $180 at Friendly River Music.
Yep, up in Maine.
Yep. And but I didn't have enough money for the sales tax because I forgot about the sales tax, and so the guy had to rewrite the price so that it came out to $180.
$20 off or whatever.
$8 off, and but that's my Christmas guitar story, and that was my first guitar was a bass. I guess that's true. Yeah, other than my little plastic guitar when I was a little kid.
Oh, I never got that one.
So anyone out there with a cool Christmas guitar story, feel free to chime in with that.
I have a good one.
Oh yeah, please.
I never got a guitar for Christmas.
Well, yeah,
but after I got a guitar, I got a Sears Silvertone Twin 12 under the tree one year, which some of you, I'm sure, know what that is. It was the poor man's Fender at the time because, of course, I wanted a Fender Twin or something.
Yeah, right.
But no, too much money. Anyway, so I unwrapped it. And, oh, my God. My father, who was a tinkerer and taught me the value of working with your hands, okay, that's great. Take it down in the basement, take it apart.
Take it apart and see what's in there, yeah.
Yeah, so we carried it down in the basement, up on the workbench, pulled the chassis out. He said, that's a capacitor, that's a resistor. These are tubes. This is how it all works. Back on speakers, and then I plugged it in. He didn't know anything about guitar amps, but he knew how it all worked because he could fix radios and cars and anything else. So then that was great. I put it back together, brought it back upstairs. A week later, I figure out if I get it up to like 9.
Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah. My father comes storming down. You know, engineers have been working for 30 years to get rid of that distorted sound. Well, that's what sounds good, Dad. Yeah. Oh, he walks away.
Wasn't it one? I think it was in a Fender manual that came with your amp. Never turn your amp up so loud so that it distorts.
Right, because that's bad.
Some of the regulars are chiming in saying hello and happy holidays. So special hello and happy holidays to y'all. Any guitar? Let me think if I have any other great guitar Christmas stories. Guitar amps. Yeah, just every Christmas there was something musical. It was, just even if it was some maracas or a tambourine or something, there was always something a DOD digital delay. That's what I wanted for one Christmas. I want the DOD digital delay because it had 3 seconds of sampling. So you could actually go boo do 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 and then make it loop. It was like the first kind of looper. And digital delay was the thing back in 1989, I guess. And I got that for Christmas, so I was pretty happy about that.
There weren't any pedals when I was a kid.
And I got one Christmas. I got the Tube Screamer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I traded. Oh, you know what I traded the DoD digital delay for?
Not the grabber bass.
No, something I still have today.
Did you trade it to
I
me?
traded to you for something that I still have today.
Yeah.
1990,
You might have told me this not too long
91.
ago. I don't remember.
Yeah.
What?
It was a Leslie speaker.
Oh, that's right. We did talk about that recently.
Yeah. I got my Leslie speaker at Garrett's Guitars in
The
1991 or
145
2.
or
Yeah.
something.
145 with 2 dead mice in it.
Right. Oh, triggers. Right.
Yeah, it belonged to Trigger. It was in a barn for quite some
the barn,
time.
Leslie.
And initially didn't work, but get it working. And yeah, trade the DoD pedal and I think $20 or something. I think you got some cash in that deal too. Yeah.
Right.
So
Everybody was happy.
Yeah. I still have that Leslie today. I have swapped out both motors, the amplifier, which it was missing.
Right.
All the relay came and went a couple times. The horn driver and the bass driver. So there's nothing inside that Leslie that's original.
Right.
But it's still the same Leslie.
Okay. I remember it.
All right. So once again, for those of you just joining us, chime in the comments, say hello, ask any guitar questions. It doesn't have to be Christmas guitar stuff. Any questions you want to know, any topics you want to talk about with guitars, guitar repair, guitar stuff. And we'll be happy to talk about whatever you want to talk about. But we'll start with our own topics, as usual.
Sure.
Which one should we start with? There's
The heavy one?
Yeah.
Oh, it is heavy. Oh, Mark just read up on it. I remembered it was confusing, the history of this instrument. So Mark can probably tell you. It's a 1970, it's those weird 70 numbers, mid-70s Fender Telecaster bass.
The Telecaster bass doesn't get enough respect.
Well,
They did a Squire reissue of it, though, which is good.
Yeah.
That's helped a little. So let's talk about the attributes. Why do we call it Telecaster bass?
Because in 1951, no, it was later.
Okay.
That wasn't 51.
So the original Precision bass, it's based on the original Precision bass.
Well, no, the original Precision bass came from this. The idea at the Fender factory was Leo came up with the idea of an electric bass.
Mm-hmm.
And they had the Telly. They didn't have a Stratocaster. So I said, well, let's take a Telly and put a longer neck on it.
Yeah, right, yeah.
They experimented with various lengths and came up with 34 inches and didn't bother to contour it. You know, it's square like a Telly. And they called it the Precision bass.
But did you know where Leo Fender thought up the idea for the fretted Precision? Because it had frets on it.
Right.
Your intonation was precise.
So you can play anywhere between those two, and you got to see.
But do you know where he was when he thought up that idea?
No.
You know, like this. He was in a Mexican restaurant, and he saw a guy playing a Bajo Sexto.
Right.
And those have frets on them. And he went, bing!
Ooh, put a pickup in there.
Yeah. We should make an electric bass with frets on it. And everyone's like, Leo, you crazy.
And that went on for years.
Yeah.
Nobody would touch him.
And then imagine being the first guy who showed up at the gig. It's like, hey, where's your bass? And what's in that guitar case? This is a bass guitar. Check it out, man. And get out of here. You're fired.
Well, as many of you probably know, there was a famous guy who went through that, Wes Montgomery's brother.
Oh, yeah.
Monk Montgomery. He was one of the first guys to really play the electric Fender bass. And he put up with a lot of crap.
Yeah, right, yeah.
But he stuck with it, and it all turned out fine.
Yeah, it just took a couple years for it to catch on, and boy, did it catch on.
So anyways, then in the mid-50s, when the Strat came out with the contoured body, they thought, oh, let's contour the body.
Mm-hmm.
So it still was a precision bass, but it didn't look like this anymore. And you're probably wondering about the pickup, too. Well, but
That comes later.
Then we just figured out 68.
68 is when they brought it back.
They said, okay, let's reissue something.
Technically, the first
really
Fender reissue.
happened.
Yeah.
So they made a copy of the first bass and called it a Telly bass, which it never really was called before. And then in 72, they realized that little wimpy single coil right here didn't do much.
Yeah.
So I put in a honkin' Mudbucker, their version of the Mudbucker humbucker pickup, which is now the thing.
If you find them with this one, actually, we're always in the. So this gets me onto a tangent I wanted to get into, which is there's this everlasting pre-CBS post CBS, the cult of pre-CBS. CBS didn't do anything good. They ruined everything. Everything was so good, and then CBS ruined it. And that's not true. For example, they created this thing, and this humbucker is tremendous. It goes grrr.
Right.
It's a real what's the word
into
for
your
it?
B15?
Yeah, it is. It's yes, it distorts. Yes, it grumbles. Yes, it tops out, but it sounds so good.
And we'll forgive Mark his feelings about pre-CBS because he wasn't there.
But okay, so I'll say this: I got a pre-CBS amp. Peter Squires, one of our rotating co-hosts, he just bought a pre-CBS Super, and he calls me on the phone. He's like, "It's kind of bright. I don't know what to do about it. I can't get the treble in the because they don't have a bright switch. They're just bright."
Right.
And I'm like, "That's pre-CBS, man. That's what that's what you signed up for. Super bright." So it's not necessarily the answer to everything. They did reissue this, maybe in the 80s reissues, the Japanese reissues, maybe.
With the big pickup?
Yeah.
I'm not sure about that.
We'll have to Google that
I remember
one.
a time when there were guys that had these and they were going to pay, like $100 for one of those.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
It's like if you had one, it's like, ooh, gold.
Yeah.
Because that was the 80s and they wanted to get back to this sound.
Yeah.
So that was a thing.
And they had done a Squire reissue of this as well, the Telecaster bass, which is different than the Precision bass reissue, which kind of shaped the same, but isn't, and especially with that pickup, that's the thing.
Right.
That crazy humbucker.
Does have a name? I can't think of it. There's a name for that. It's a little wider.
Yeah, it's a wide.
Way.
On the electrics they call them wide.
Yeah, because I know people have tried to put
humbuckers.
in a standard size humbucker in there, and it don't fit too good.
Yeah, and of course, and the finger rest on the wrong side, which Leo Fender thought that people would want to play the instrument with their thumb, and then stick their fingers. Do that one more time, and stick their fingers on this side, and kind of use that to make a grip, and that was useless.
Well, to most bass players, there are a few that use their thumb a lot.
Yeah. A lot of people just took this off and put it on the other side, where they can actually rest their thumb on it and use their fingers to block.
But that works too.
Yeah, or just planting your finger just anywhere, just once you get used to it. So
and this
Mike
one
says
weighs,
hi.
Would you say that's 12 pounds?
Yeah, it's it's more than a Les Paul.
It belongs to who owns a Les Paul that weighs, I think, even more.
Yeah, our customer who has the heaviest Les Paul that weighs in at 14 pounds.
Yeah, this is like nothing.
That's nothing compared to that, yeah. All right, so Mike is asking, any round wound versus flat wound discussion? Because we did talk about that a couple weeks ago.
Not too long ago.
But I want to add to it a little bit, too. So, to review, flat wounds
are flat.
They're flat. And they're wound.
And they're wound. Yeah, it's a core with a flat piece of metal wrapped around it, or a round wound and then squished, or
ground down to flat.
Something to make it mostly flat.
Yeah. And what I did want to add on, something I just found out on a couple different instruments, I kind of half forgot, but because a flat wound, so a round wound string, you can just kind of picture the windings if you're got it sideways. A flat wound of the same gauge, so if you bought a 45 to 105 set of flat wounds, it's more massive.
Yeah.
Because there's no space between the windings.
Right.
And they work at a higher tension because of that. And you put flat wounds on your bass, and your bass neck will bow.
Yep.
It just happens. That happened to two people recently. I don't know what's going on. I just put some flat ones on it, and now the thing just doesn't work. Yeah. So be careful with the flat wounds, and that's how I get the neck reset on my Hofner. I put flat wounds on it, and the neck went south. And I brought it in. I was like, "What's going on?" And Chris looked at it. He's like, "Yeah, see that space there? Your neck's coming off."
Right. Yep.
I'm like, oh man! And it was the flat ones. Put it over the edge,
and it will change your intonation.
Yep,
so
there's that too. Yeah,
it's not a drop-in string change.
Yeah, so on a bass, just realize that they're heavier. They're a little harder to push on too. You get more of an upright sound.
Right.
You get a warmer, deeper sound. I'd say. Feel wise, it's fun to slide on them, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, they're fun. Most people, everybody tries them.
Yeah.
Some people stick with it. Most people don't.
Mm-hmm.
As I think I said a couple of weeks ago, the bottom line was with flat wounds, you get one great sound. With round wounds, you get a bunch of great sounds. None of them are the same as the flat wound, but it's kind of all the other great sounds.
Yeah.
So do you want that one or do you want the other 7?
Well, with flat ones on electric, this comes up a lot. We'll have a great arch top here. We don't see a great arch top that happened to come in that has round wounds on it, and someone will pick it up and start playing some jazzy stuff on it. And they're like, "Oh man, you should put flat wounds on this." You know, and it's like, well, 10% of people might be comfortable playing flat wounds.
Right.
If you put round wounds on a guitar, a person who ordinarily plays flat wounds can play it and kind of imagine what it would sound like.
Right.
If you put that guitar in the hands of someone who plays round wound strings, they're gonna hate it.
Yeah, I remember. Well, there's some like the Mesrobian.
Yeah,
if you got a $3,000 jazz guitar,
it's a jazz player
on it because a rock and roller is probably not going to buy it.
Yeah, but something that even some of the Gibsons, when we had that all those Gibson arch tops for a while, some of those I left round wounds on it because people just pick them up and they're very quiet. They're quieter.
Right.
They're warmer, but they're just they go
right.
Not a lot of sustain, I'd say, right? Yeah.
Thump, thump, thump.
Let's see. Oh, our man in Hungary is on.
Oh, hey, Mike.
We had a Mike Endicott story to tell. What, Gary? You can mention that.
Our old friend Mike, when he lived here, was a man of many memorable lines. One of them came to me just today, talking about Christmas and what are we going to talk about on the show. And I said, yeah, this one year Mike came in the store like the day before Christmas at 1 o'clock or so. I said, hey, how you doing? Blah, 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 blah. So what's up? He said, oh, I'm out to start my Christmas shopping. I said, Mike, you got like 2 hours. He said, plenty of time. Of course, he was right.
Yeah, right. Well, any experience with the true arc bridge for Gretsch with a Bigsby to replace the Adjustomatic or probably Tune-O-Matic bridge? There are true arc. I don't know that one particularly.
Probably got rollers.
Yeah, I mean, like, so I have actually on my Gretsch, I have a roller bridge, the old-fashioned roller bridge. I put it on there out of interest, and it actually intonates.
Yeah.
Because here's why. Your intonation is determined by the size of the core of your string, not the external dimension of your string. And it's the bigger strings sit a little. Your core sits higher off of the round saddle thing, so it kind of somehow works.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's a scientific explanation.
That's kind of somehow.
And people don't trust science.
Yes. And get your booster shot, everybody. Yeah, it's and the other thing about intonation is you'd be shocked at like what intonates and what doesn't. That's why you have to adjust intonation on everything all the time because some things work, some things don't.
Well, yeah, and the string changes.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how many times people have come in to get their intonation fixed, and I said, "You need new strings."
Yeah, these strings
no,
are
I need
terrible.
my intonation fixed. No, you need new strings.
You just put new strings on, they'll be fine.
Your intonation's fine.
Okay. Also, machines to match the neck radius. So the probably the arc of the matches it. So the arc of your bridge should match your neck radius.
Yes, supposedly Tune-O-Matics do.
It's supposed to. Yeah, they all do. Yeah.
Close.
Oh yeah, maybe not as precision or whatever completely, but yeah, you gotta be higher up in the middle than on the ends for sure.
Well, Bigsby's back in the day, they came with a special aluminum bridge. Do you remember those?
No, I don't remember that.
It was like an arch top bridge.
Uh-huh.
It might have been compensated.
It
was an aluminum base, a little.
They're permanently compensated. Right?
Yeah, an aluminum saddle, and it fit on. It was adjustable.
Mm-hmm.
It was like the worst possible bridge for a Bigsby. It was aluminum, so the strings cut right into it.
Yeah.
You do this 10 times, and it's stuck on the saddle.
You're basically
right.
You're basically running a jigsaw on your bridge.
Right.
Yeah.
And hardly, everybody put them on, and 3 months later, I need something better. But I don't know that name.
Yeah. Well, it says a single piece of machined aluminum There you go.
Well, that's maybe the old Bigsby bridge. They always came with it.
Brass, copper, or stainless steel with no moving parts.
Oh, well, maybe they.
So that's maybe someone figured it out better.
Wait a minute, aluminum's not that tough, is it?
No, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So let's also offer the copper, also not that tough.
Right.
Stainless steel, very tough.
Right.
So if you have a choice, go for the stainless steel, I'd say.
Yeah, it's got to be stronger. It's harder than the strings because the strings will chew through it.
Chris Lammy is saying bow tie bridge on the early Bigsby's. Remember the bow tie bridge?
Bow tie bridge. I'm trying to picture a bow tie and a bridge. I never heard that term.
Yeah. There's some Bigsby did some weird stuff, and he might be on the Bigsby guitars, not just the Bigsby tremolo system.
Quite unusual. Yes.
Yeah. And so, how did that happen? How did Bigsby's tremolo system become the standard and on so many instruments that weren't made by? So Bigsby was a guitar maker, right?
He was first.
Yeah.
There's some famous. I forget where it is. There's a famous story somewhere. Leo Fender, Paul Bigsby. And Merle Travis, I think, or maybe Les Paul was there.
Walking to a bar.
They were somewhere together, and they got talking about guitars. This was like 1947 or something.
Yeah.
And I think that's when Bigsby said, "Well, I got this idea," and he had a drawing of the Bigsby tremolo, and both Fender and Les Paul were like, "Cool, yeah, I want that."
Yeah.
And,
okay.
I think that was the first.
That's how it happened.
Tremolo.
Yeah. Yeah, because they initially made guitars. They made Hawaiian guitars too, right? The lap steels.
Probably, yeah.
And then, but yeah, he's more of a metal worker than a woodworker, I'd say,
maybe.
From all the stuff he made.
Yeah, his guitars are, if you look up a picture of a Bigsby guitar.
So those later came on Gibsons, Gretsch's.
Yeah.
Did Fender ever have Bigsby's?
Yes, there were Bigsby Tellys. I think.
Oh yeah. There's
60s.
that. Well, there is. Yeah, that might have been an aftermarket thing, though.
I don't remember. I think Fender did sell them with Bigsby.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
Mike probably knows.
Yeah,
he's Mr. Telly.
We had a Bigsby Telly come through recently with the true
Epiphone. Yes,
with that true. What's that called? The true Epiphone Gibson, the same thing.
Not back then.
Yeah, in the 60s.
Right.
What was that weird thing for the Telly with a Bigsby that had this that you can install with drilling no holes?
Oh, the Vibromate.
Vibromate, super cool.
Yeah.
If you're interested in Bigsby's.
Yeah. It's a plate that just attaches to the strap button.
To where the bridge used to be, and to the strap button.
Yeah. And you put your pickup in it, and you put it on, and then so there's no extra holes, and then the Bigsby attaches to the plate.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the clean way to do it.
Yeah, because otherwise,
it's,
no, there's a couple
$100
$100
for the thing.
But it saves a lot of drilling and sometimes routing and all the other terrible things that happen when Bigsby's get put on.
Bigsby Telly bridge.
Yeah,
terrible things in the past.
People trying to fit the archtop one on a Telly and routing into it and all sorts.
I remember grooving the back of the Telly bridge between the intonation screws so the strings could go in there and not hit the top of the back of the bridge and all kinds of other ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Probably Mike did a few and
probably. No, how about this? Is the worst abomination we talked about? Routing for Floyd Rose. Mike's going to hell for doing those. We talked about, Bigsby, people do, routing on Bigsby, to get Bigsby systems. But isn't the hip shot the worst abomination of, remember the original hip shot where you moved, didn't you have to route the entire back of the guitar?
No. Well, that's the Parsons White B bender.
Oh, the B bender. That's
that attached to your strap button.
Yeah, no.
Pull your guitar up and down and it moved the strap.
That's what I was thinking of.
No, the hip shot went on pretty clean. I don't know if there may not have been any holes. Was it like the Vibromate? It just mounted on the guitar using strap buttons or some other available screw.
Yeah. Let's see. Catch up with the chat here. Give me 1 second here.
There is chat.
Yeah, we need some time killers, Gary. Give us some time killers.
Every year about this time, somebody wanders in the store.
Yeah.
With a couple of old harmonies.
Or just some.
They're exactly the same.
Yeah, they are. Yeah,
Made
so,
in China, so
two-
probably from the 70s.
yeah. Two brothers probably got them for Christmas.
They are all original. They had the original strings on them.
Yeah.
I mean, they were black. The frets were so corroded, I couldn't stand it, so I cleaned the fingerboard. I mean, at a glance, it looked like it had no frets. It was the same color as the fingerboard. And he wants to fix them up for the kids. It's been in the basement for 60 years. And could you, just string them up and make them, and, well, we can string them up. After that, we have no idea what's going to happen. But at least there'll be a couple of kids with guitars under the Christmas tree. So, this is kind of an annual thing. It's like I feel like I'm Santa's elf.
Yeah.
And fix up some of these little guitars for the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Although you're not doing children any favor by giving them that guitar.
Well,
but
I think actually
it's the spirit of Christmas.
they probably won't play in tune, but they might be slightly playable.
Slightly.
So, if you got a 4-year-old who's going to destroy it.
Yeah, as
anyways,
a toy. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Let them go at
Because
it.
that's essentially they were intended to be a toy.
Right.
They're half size, maybe.
I
Maybe
guess.
smaller. I had one as a child. I had the plastic one
Same size as the
I had a
baritone.
couple of them.
I think.
when I was a child. So I love the little things.
Yeah.
They kind of like the McAfee kind of thing, probably the cheaper version of
Every
the
once
plastic
in a while,
guitar.
you see one that plays fine.
Yeah.
Every once in a while.
Even a broken clock is right twice a day. Mike is asking, are you familiar with the Jolana Iris? A Tele-ish guitars and basses. I got a flea market one. Bigsby was a motorcycle guy. Built
right.
steels first. Okay, yeah, so he built steel guitars. Okay.
Right.
But yeah, like that's why I get that impression, just a machinist.
Mike, do you remember I think it was black guitar you brought in before you moved away? Very odd shape, with no name on it, if I remember right. So this was maybe 5 years ago now?
Yeah.
It took a lot of research, but it was a Jolana
Oh yeah.
something else.
Cyclone, tornado,
Something.
Yeah, right, yeah.
It's in the card.
And
file
it
somewhere.
was just the neck. It was a beautiful piece of ebony
Oh, that's right. It wasn't the whole guitar.
on the neck. It was just the neck.
Strange.
But it
headstock.
wouldn't fit on anything. That's why he didn't have it.
Right.
Yeah. That was from a
Jolana.
Jolana. Yeah, so you had one.
That's the only time I ever encountered that name.
So this is for Mike or anyone else in Eastern Europe, because there's a Yevgenia who just sent a message
they
as
were
well.
from Czechoslovakia or something.
My favorite weird cheap bass is made by Cremona in the Soviet period. Cremona is a Bulgarian company, but under communism.
You mean upright bass?
No, remember you saw the thing. It's like a Hofner
Violin-shaped
thing.
one?
Yeah, violin-shaped thing.
Oh yeah. You got it for like 60 rubles or something?
I got it for not quite 60, maybe 1,000. And the guy in the ad said, "Great for slap." Because when I got it, there's no way your string is ever going to hit a fret, no matter how hard you slap it.
On the open strings.
Yeah,
plays
so
great.
it was 1,000 rubles at the time, was $20, I think.
Right.
And it needed some work, but it did work. So if you see those older Cremona instruments, they're of the communist era Eastern European instruments, they kind of work. They play. You can get them going. Cremona is still making guitars. We sell Cremona guitars here at Gary's Guitars. They're classical guitars. Same company. Just under communism, they were forced to make things very quickly and very badly, like most things under communism. And but the great thing about this, the crazy thing about it, it was hand carved.
Oh.
Hand carved top, hand carved back, probably, because they didn't know how to press plywood.
Right. But then the assembly was awful.
Yeah, no, yeah, I get it. Just it was, But whenever you see, like, even in Russia, this was the bass you had if you were like really good.
Somebody brought in a Russian electric many years ago.
Yeah,
it's brought back.
Yeah,
and, it was odd looking, and it had a strange like 4-pin.
Yeah, the connector, the DIN connector.
Could you put a quarter-inch jack in there? I said, yeah, probably. So I took strings off, flipped the pickguard over. Oh, it had a lot of switches, 4 pickups, a bunch of knobs. I flipped the pickguard over. There was about a mile of the most neatly wired guitar circuit you ever saw. Little string, pieces of string every inch with a bow in it. So it all traveled. Somebody spent an hour just.
Well, the guy who wired that guitar probably worked wiring submarines.
Yeah.
Like that's,
But then they put the guitar together and it was awful. But inside there was, some fantastic work.
So we're at the halfway point. So once again, a reminder, welcome to Gary's Guitars Guitar Talk. We're just talking about guitars. Put in the comments or in the chat there anything you want to talk about, and we'll talk about that too. If you want to add something to the conversation, just write it, type it in. Say hi. If you're just saying hi, that's cool too. Just need some you got some regulars in the comments, but you don't have to be a regular to be involved. Just shout it out. Let's see if we caught up on all those. True art. So my tip back to Mike was find a Cremona bass. You won't regret it. The hollow body.
Right. What was it? Jolana what?
Jolana. Well, this one was an Iris. A Telius guitar,
Huh.
I said. Yeah. He got one at a flea market.
Yeah.
So those, that neck, I still remember that neck because it was the best looking piece of ebony I've seen anywhere.
Yeah, it had some
Just
nice
dense,
attributes. Right.
dark, beautiful ebony.
Somebody did finally buy it.
Someone bought it and figured out how to put it on because the scale length was different.
He was going to cut out his own body or something, so it didn't matter scale length.
Yeah,
whatever.
so it couldn't really ever be made to fit on a
Right.
a Fender sized
So
thing.
it's probably somewhere being played.
And we got some spam. Wow, we've actually got some spam. Someone, so that's good. We're just some comments made by robots to
Oh,
to
come on,
throw
guys.
everything off. Yeah.
comb your hair.
No, just some weird stuff that I don't know why that happens, but it's a thing these days in YouTube land.
Right.
All right, so let me just reset that for a second. Make sure we're not missing anything. Okay, so we're caught up with the room. A couple other things I want to talk about in my list. You talked about that. We talked about the Tele bass. It bears to repeat, talking about Class D amplification, what it's all about, and why it's kind of getting more popular.
What's Class D mean?
So that is this new digital hybrid, switching thing. For
Nothing
example,
to do with tubes.
nothing to do with tubes.
Oh, okay.
Except the Tone Master over there has a Class D circuit. So, a few years ago, when they first got big in PA amps, remember when PA speakers had the amplifier built in and they got really good sounding?
Well, I haven't heard that yet. but-
Well, the first, that first generation of Mackeys and stuff like that,
Well,
the
they were fine.
QSCs, just really good sounding. Especially, if you put hi-fi music through them, not necessarily for bands, but just really even. And now this technology is throughout because Jay Fortin from Scissor Fight was in the store today, and he's talking to me. He's got a Quilter amp with a 412, I think, maybe 410. That's his Scissor Fight amp now. He's not using the Marshall.
Yeah, it's a sad, sad world. I thought Jay would be one of the last.
With
Maybe
the
he
last
is one of the
guy.
last.
He probably still has the Marshall, but
Yeah,
he says it sounds great.
yeah, I'm sure it does.
He loves it.
Yeah.
You got to trust your ears when you're thinking about that kind of stuff. So, Class D amplification, the Fender Rumble, the new Fender Rumble sounds really good, and I'm not giving up my B15,
Right.
But for $350,
Right, it weighs 20 pounds or
it
something.
weighs. Yeah, I think you have to put a weight on top. You have to put something on
Yeah.
top of it when you set it down, so it doesn't float
Yeah,
away.
you can drop it on your foot and it won't hurt.
Yeah.
Of course, it's no good in the snow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can't use it
Yeah,
in there. Can't put it in the back of your
you fill
pickup.
up the van with
yeah.
it does no good.
Yeah.
I added 75 pounds. It will.
Yeah, I remember driving in a snowstorm with the SVT in the back and a couple of big amps.
Who needs
like a
change?
train. Except when we came up to a toll booth, I happened to be behind the wheel
You had to stop.
and had to stop. And the thing would, I about put the pedal. I was like, oh my God, this thing isn't going to stop. Literally like a train.
Yeah.
Sorry.
2 tons of musical gear in the back.
Yeah. Sorry to get so. That was a good memory. Wintertime in New England. Everyone's asking me, what about the, got any gigs coming up? No gigs. I usually don't play gigs in January and February anyway. I haven't for years. And now, because of all this, we're still, for those of you not watching in real time, we are still in the middle of COVID.
Right.
We've been in the middle of COVID for most of COVID. Oops, someone put in their Christmas guitar, and then it says message retracted. Paul Sterner. So put the comment back in, Paul. We want to hear about your Christmas guitar, because I glanced over. I was like, oh, Christmas guitar. We'll do that next. So one thing we asked earlier, if you weren't here, is we were telling stories about Christmas guitars.
And amplifiers.
And amplifiers, just Christmas guitar stuff. And my DOD, digital delay.
Right.
Which was really cool. When I took that back to college, they thought I was cool.
Guitar stuff under the tree.
You do the edge thing with it. You could just, get really spacey.
I had to eat a sandwich in between the
the delay. And then when you turn the knob, while had 4 knobs on it. On most of these pedals had 2 or 3 at the most. This one had 4 knobs because you could set your delay. It was a clicking set though. You could only go like one, whatever, half a second.
Right.
And, you had to. It was like 4 or 5. But the last one was 3 minutes. 3 seconds.
3 minutes. Maybe in 2021 there's 3 minutes.
There is, yeah. Well, that's essentially these loopers, these sophisticated loopers. They're just a delay or what? Same technology. They just record the entire thing and they repeat the entire thing.
I remember my sales. The answer when digital delays came out was, why do I need a digital delay? I said, well, they start at about a second. I mean, they can do less. They'll go up to 2-3 seconds of delay. In analog, I don't think they ever get to 1 second.
Yeah,
half a second. But why you'd want to do that, I don't know.
Because
nobody else did either.
80s or 90s. Yeah, no.
Well, by then there was people.
And now delays have gotten a little crazy. Because I also mentioned, I always, all my life, said digital reverb sucks. Because digital reverb is just a kind of delay, really. It was just they never figured out a way to make it really like a spring would do it.
Right.
So it's just they kind of they use several delays on each other and make it just kind of. But I never liked digital reverbs until recently. I think they've all gotten quite a bit better.
Holy Grail was pretty good.
Yeah, that was probably the
10
best
years ago.
of the. No, that's even more 15. At the old, those at the old store.
Right.
I'm gesturing to where the old store used to be. The Holy Grail was first thing, so that's 20-something years ago.
Yeah.
But anyways, that was the one. That was the first one.
It's like, no, it's okay. I could use this.
I could put up with this.
Right.
You put it on spring, and it kind of sounds like a spring. The plate one the plate setting.
But the new ones, like the MXR, sounds really good.
Yeah, and the new Oceans 11 from Electro Harmonics, it's got 11 kinds of delay, including a little loop thing built in too. Yeah. And they all, because of processing power and amount of memory that can be included in a little thing like that, they're all really sophisticated. I mean, it just has a really nice sound. And even the digital delay in the Class D amplifier that I was talking about earlier,
right. Class D.
Fine.
That's what we were talking about.
But this is a good little, the delay thing is a good little segue because, 2 things I want to say about that. One is that reverbs are better. Analog delay is come back too. People will just analog delay is weird. It's kind of like making a photocopy of the note you just played. It's not a photograph of it. It's a photocopy of the note you just played.
Yeah, I mean, there's the tape delay.
Yeah.
And then there's everything else.
Yeah.
I mean, the tape delay is as close as we'll ever get.
Yeah.
To the actual sound. And then before digital technology, there was an analog version.
Well, the tape delay is kind of better than original.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it started out as good as it could be.
Yeah. And then then the analog delay, digital delay. Yeah, the one cool thing about the tape delay is sending it to 2 different amps. That's always fun.
Yeah.
So it just sounds like there's 2 guitars playing. Okay, I bought myself a Keeley Dark Side pedal. I mean, Santa bought me this. Does it count? Yeah.
Sure. Well, it would have been nice if it was under the tree.
Yeah, right. Well, just wrap it up and hand it to yourself.
Right.
I wonder if we can do this.
Happening.
No, I'm trying to block the spammers now. They're starting to tick me off.
It keeps popping up.
Eastern European spammers.
Wow.
Just can't block Mike because he's in Eastern Europe as well. And he's not a spammer. Okay.
As far as we know.
Yeah, well, we don't know what he does when he's not doing this, but somehow he makes money. I don't know. I thought he did it putting in kitchens and bathrooms, but it could be something else. Or playing in Hungarian R&B groups,
Right.
of which there are none. You have to start one, Mike. All right, so back to the Bob Sullivan says, Christmas 1963, my brother and I received twin Silvertone 1413.
Is that the little guy?
Is that the guitars? No, that's the guitar.
guitars.
That's the guitar with the Dan Luxor one.
Oh, okay.
Our first guitar. My brother still reminds me how I sold his for an amp a few months later. yeah, a brilliant musical career cut off before his prime because his brother sold his amp.
Yeah.
I just stole my brother's amp. I think I just do. When I went to college, he went to college, and I just claimed it as my own. That was the PV Bandit.
Yeah.
65.
Now they're kind of sought after, aren't they?
Kind of, yeah. You'd be surprised. So PV of that era has a very interesting. So in New England, Daddy's had 23 stores all over New England, something like that.
Something 20,
Yeah.
I think, was the high point.
Yeah.
Or the low point.
And they sold a lot of PV.
Yeah.
So here in New England, we have PVs everywhere. Every day someone comes in with a PV, or used to be.
Right.
We got saturated with PV. So it was like doorstops. Like, oh, PV, $50, we sell for $100, fix it up and sell for $100, maybe we'll get out the door.
Right.
But yes, certain PVs are becoming sought after, including the Bandit and the, especially the steel players love the.
Oh, the Nashville?
Yeah.
That's still one of the only steel amps ever made, I think.
Yeah. No, don't get that started. Cause, yeah.
Well,
Steel
maybe
players would
the
tell
only
you.
affordable one.
Yeah.
Because they used to pay $500 for their volume pedal.
Yeah, right. Those steel players are, intense group of individuals, but you have to be to play that instrument. It's impossible to play.
Yeah, it's whack. Top 5 hardest instruments to play.
Mm-hmm.
So says Leonard Bernstein.
Oh, right. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Pedal steel guitar is one of them.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah.
And chromatic harmonica.
Harmonica. Yes.
The rest were orchestral.
All I know about Spam is it comes in a can and Monty Python are into it. No, they didn't like the Spam. That was the problem.
Spam.
Spam.
Wonderful spam.
Yeah, because it was, everything had Spam in it or something in that skit. So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. Which is ironic now that Spam is no longer hated.
I know. It's a thing now.
Yeah, it's like, ooh, I got to get Poke Bowls. Spam.
Yeah, there was spam sushi somewhere.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's a. But it never went out of style in Hawaii. They were always like, "This is cool stuff,"
Right?
Because it's it's ham, which they traditionally in their diet anyways, and easy to cook with. Easy to Don't remind me about my Christmas spam, but I shouldn't tell you about that story because we only have 15 minutes left. It's a long story. My brother and I gifted each other the same can of spam back and forth in very creative ways, not just Christmas, but like.
Yeah.
And it culminated with me opening up my suitcase in Russia, northern Russia.
Spam.
That damn spam was in there.
And you brought it back?
And I had to. That guy, man. All right. Let's see if there's any more comments here. The Keeley dark side. Yeah, hey, Keeley pedals in general are just Keeley can't do anything wrong as far as I can tell.
I haven't seen a bad Keeley yet.
Yeah.
And some of them are some of the best.
Yeah.
That studio compressor, I think it's called.
Yeah. The compressors are great. We talked about compressors last week a little bit because people are asking about compressors. Should I use a compressor? Do I need a compressor? And the answer usually is no. But
when you need a compressor, you need a compressor.
Yeah, you really need one. All right. So 1 second. I'm going to refresh here to make sure.
I was still trying to get rid of the spam guys.
No, I just want every once in a while. So I'm gesturing over here, folks. I have a tablet over here I read the comments off of. And every once in a while it gets a little frozen up. So I'll close it and reopen it. And then 4 more comments will come up. Gary kind of guessed that everyone would be out Christmas shopping anyways. So we wouldn't necessarily have the biggest
some
crowd
people
today.
here.
But yeah, and we've got
great.
some regulars, which is cool. And we've got some spammers, which means we must be getting somewhere.
Yeah.
If we're good enough to spam on.
Yep. Somebody's, who are these
Yeah.
guys?
Ooh, there's some watchers there. We got to go cause some trouble. So I got one more thing left on my list, but I was going to do it later because it's sad.
Well, we could talk about this for 10 minutes, probably.
Yeah, all right. So we unfortunately, we had to say goodbye to another community member this week.
David Surett.
David Surett has passed, and what can you say? We're gonna eulogize him a little bit for those of you who know him or don't know him. We'll start by saying he used to teach at this.
You taught here for a while.
Yeah.
I remember the one memorable phone call. Guy from Portland. Is that the David Surett teaching at your store? I think so.
He was such an unassuming guy that you wouldn't guess how great he was or well regarded he was. I remember probably my first experience was coming to your store in the early 90s and him being there. And then there was a book on the shelf with his picture on it.
Yeah.
A method book that he wrote or, whatever
Hal
it was.
Leonard. Yeah.
From Hal Leonard. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. They did a few of his books.
So that's impressive. I guess these days, publishing a book in the world of Amazon, but it is easier. But back then, it was a big deal. Yeah. So David, yes, he was local, but international as well. Guitarist, mandolin, no slouch on the You would, if you saw him playing mandolin, you'd think it was his first instrument.
Right.
He's brilliant guitarist, really nice guy. Anyone out there remembers David can chime in on this stuff too.
Well, I saw him and heard him play in his recordings. He was probably mostly known as a Celtic player.
Yeah.
He did some great solo guitar Celtic stuff. But also I saw him, I walked into I forget why I was there, but there was a contra dance going on, a square dance basically. Yeah. And I look over, who's playing guitar? But David Surett. You play this stuff too.
Yeah.
And he played it great. Chunking the chords.
Mostly in the folk, the folk
right.
thing, but he could play anything with anyone.
I saw him do bossa novas one night.
His mandolin play, yeah.
I was in the studio once back in the 80s with David played some guitar solos.
Yeah.
Just sort of rock
ripping
pop.
pentatonic.
Right.
Musically unstoppable, seriously wonderful guy.
Yes.
Just no one could ever say a bad thing about him. He had this, that band. I'm glad I saw them with Steve Roy, where they played mandolins. It's called Steve and Dave Play Dead, and they played Grateful Dead covers.
Right, forgot about that.
Yeah, that was tremendous. And of course, Steve played with him a lot. Other than that, but just had to let people know who may know him out there that he's passed on, and just had to sing his praises because
I couldn't help draw parallels with our loss of Woody Allen a few months ago. They're both world-class guitar players, musicians, I should say.
Yeah.
Who were fairly well known around, but also two of the nicest
successful
guys.
Yeah.
Like, of all the people I know, why these guys? I know a lot of guys that aren't half as nice as these guys.
I know a lot of guys who deserve to die.
Quite. Why are the nicest guys going?
Yeah.
So
there is something maybe related to every once in a while that. All right, so there's musical geniuses who are jerks, and we all know some of them. But there are also musical geniuses who are the nicest guys you've ever met, and there's something about there's a relation there somehow. There's something that's something that that kind of enlightenment that you can get out of being great at music makes you a great human too. So keep that in mind. So that was 5 minutes, but it's just going to make me sad and cry. So we'll move on from that because a few community members, and of course we're all getting older every day, but still it hurts when someone passes on, and especially once again someone who's just such a treasure.
Right.
So Danielle's asking, notice the Hofner banner on the wall. Any Hofner instruments in inventory? Yes, we have a bunch of Hofner basses. We got 4 up front and maybe a couple backups in the back. We got the contemporary bass. We got they're all right behind Gary.
There they are.
Contemporary, club bass, and then the Ignition series. We're going the wrong way. contemporary club bass ignition series and left-handed ignition series. And then just to speak about that for a second, I play a Hofner bass. Had one since 1986.
When I sold it to him.
He sold it to me at a different shop when we worked at a different place.
Right.
And I've had it ever since, and I've enjoyed it. And it's taken me, me and that bass have been to a lot of places together, and I'm keeping it. And so I know a bunch about Hofner. The contemporary series are quite good. I mean, they're all for. So basically, Hofner makes his own Hofner copy for around $400. They call it the Ignition series. No, their own, their own copy of a Hofner.
Right.
It's made in China. It just kind of independently of Hofner, and it just gets imported, and it has a painted on logo and stuff. But it's a lot better than any of the other copies because the Jade Tercer, the Epiphone, and a lot of people make a violin bass kind of thing. Dean had a violin bass for a while too. Just anyone can make one. They're an acceptable copy, yeah. And then they make something called the Contemporary Series, which we keep in stock, which sells for just under $1,000. And that is an exacting copy of the German-made Hofner. And then they still make instruments in Germany that cost probably $3,000-ish. Right. A little less for some, a little more for others. For the basses, guitars are even different. They were never known for their guitars. And they did make some really cool guitars a few years ago. And I was like, get me some more of the Very Thin. You remember that? Hofner Very Thin?
Vaguely.
It's like a 335, but it was very thin.
Oh, it was the 330. Yeah, it was really
hollow
half
body
the depth
of a 335.
Okay, it's semi hollow.
Yeah. Really cool instrument. And we sold a couple, and they were reasonably priced at one time. And our distributor was, trying to come on, get some real Very Thins. And I call him back, okay, give me two more of those Very Thins. Like, nope, gone. No more in North America.
Oh.
So I recall seeing a Hofner archtop guitar and thought it was quite nice. Can't remember the model name. Yep. Hofner had some archtops. They had some archtop in the electrics even, yeah. Mm-hmm. They had their remember the President bass, which is what Stewart played when he was in the Beatles. You see those pictures of that giant, which Paul had to play upside down until he could afford his own bass. Right. Famously. They had a variety of instruments. They're all pretty good. Hofner's a great story because they've been making basses since 150 years now or something. It's a bass making town in Germany. And everyone just like this tradition of making basses. And when they made the electric bass, they weren't looking at the Fender bass. Right. They're like, okay, people want a guitar, a bass that looks like a guitar. Let's make one. And they just, it's got to be shaped like a violin, right? It's a bass, right? And they arrived at their own scale length. 0 fret was original in those because it made sense to them. What else is funky? An arch top, an arch back.
The controls.
The controls are funky. To this day, I've had one since 1996. I still don't get the controls. I just leave all the switches on all the time.
Yeah, everything on 10 and up.
Yeah, on 10 on up. And
otherwise,
and go.
Who knows what happens.
Other than that, I have no idea what those controls do.
They do something.
Yeah. We rarely in North America see the guitars, I'd say.
Yeah, they're pretty few and far between.
I have one more little Hofner story, which is I was in Germany in 1990 something, 8, 9, I don't remember now. 19. Anyways, I was in Germany, walking down the street, walked by a music store. They got Hofners in the window. Or was I in? No, I was in Amsterdam or somewhere in the Netherlands.
Oh,
but
still, that whole region.
And I was like, they got Hofners in the window. Right. I went in and I was like, I want to try your Hofner. And they might have had a left-hand one. So these were made in the 80s, I think, and they were just still in the window. I was like,
they were not popular
for
the heavy metal guys.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they were in the 80s. Weren't a good decade for
Hofner bases.
I didn't like it. Being a guy who had a Hofner at the time and was familiar with the feel of the old ones. So some of the older ones, if you find them, so the 60s ones, definitely buy them. The new ones, definitely cool. If you find one from the 80s, think twice. I don't know. There might not be. There's something not right about that. All right. So, any more comments from the audience? Because we're going to do the old wrap it up soon. Please hit the like button. That helps, believe it or not. And if you're not subscribed, subscribe, because we've got all sorts of videos.
Then we get more spam.
We get more spam because it's become more and more important in the guitar world. We have tens of people watching.
Step aside, Rick.
But we do have a lot of people who thank us quite a bit when they,
Yes.
they're like, I watched the show. I never commented. I never said it, but just today, someone's like,
gurus today.
yeah, gurus. We're guitar gurus.
Thank you, Rich.
We've had a few people come in saying like, "Oh, I saw your YouTube, so like we were driving through, so we decided to stop by." So that's all great. Great way to make community, just make connections with people. So, and Merry Christmas to those who celebrate Christmas, and Merry whatever else for what you might celebrate. Happy New Year if you celebrate the New Year. Most people
pretty
do.
hard to avoid.
Yeah, unless I guess it's Chinese New Year, but they probably celebrate the 1st of January too. It's
you want to see some really good fireworks? Watch the Berlin, Germany fireworks on New Year's Eve.
Yeah, those Germans like to blow things up.
There
are
people running around the streets with fireworks going off everywhere.
Yeah. Well, when I was in Russia in Russia on New Year's Eve, around 5 o'clock, the fireworks start.
5 o'clock.
And they're over like by maybe 2 o'clock on the 4th of January. They just can't stop. They love fireworks. They got the official fireworks, but just people are just lighting off fireworks everywhere in the streets, in the parks. They just, so just at least a good 3 days of fireworks.
Right.
Every day and night. They let them off in the daytime. They love them so much.
If there are fireworks during COVID, it seems like there weren't any last year. Really.
Last year, there wasn't any. The first night stuff all got canceled. This year, maybe it should be canceled. I don't know. COVID is back, folks. A new wave.
We're not saying this again next year.
All right. So, once again, thanks for watching. The happy holidays, and we will see you soon.
Yes.
Stand by for the end.
Happy holidays.
And we're